Gianna, Cheairs.
Shakara, Tyler, Savet.
Akil Talley.
The Detroit People's Food Co-op.
Having come into this kind of later in the process, but being able to be around someone like Baba Malik or Mama Hanifa and talking to them and picking their brains and seeing just, how long and how much work got put into this, it just gives me like a sense of pride that they feel safe enough to pass it off to us. We like the next generation, so it gives me like an immense sense of pride and also duty to them and our community.
I feel very honored that the elders trust us to continue to move the torch forward. So I think honor is the word that I would use. I feel very honored.
Same. I'm very proud and honored. And I'm also really excited to fix the bike as we ride it, so to say, because the Detroit People's Food Co-op is a really unique institution because there really isn't a blueprint for a thriving Black-led food co-op in a mixed income neighborhood and with all the circumstances that are pertinent to our scenario. So I feel like we are literally fixing the bike as we ride it, so to say, and it's a really exciting adventure. And a lot of people are looking to us as a model for how to do it where they are as Black-led institutions that have similar goals. So it's exciting.
It's very exciting.
The Detroit People's Food Co-op grew out of 14 years of organizing that was led by the Detroit Black Community Food Sovereignty Network. We started the Ujamaa Food Buying Club in 2010 as a way to support members of the Detroit Black community, what was then Security Network, getting a better price for food that they would consume at home. So like ordering flour in bulk or ordering rice and like other foods that they would get a discount for if they collaborated or they aggregated their order with other people. So the Food Co-op Buying Club was a way for us to practice cooperativism before the brick and mortar was built. And so the idea for the brick and mortar came out of the need to expand the Co-op Buying Club because there was so much demand and like so much need to really pull our resources together so that we can begin to have more power as a collective. Because the only way that we're going to really beat capitalism and the intersectional systems that we're fighting against at their own game is if we work together as a cooperative. And so that was the overall goal and intention. And so 14 years of organizing to raise a little over $22 million to build what is now the Detroit Food Commons is a phenomenal feat. And it took, we did like 100 surveys. We did 300 surveys. We did 100 focus groups. And just a lot of community organizing so that people in the city, particularly Black people and like low-income people and people that are deeply affected by these really shitty systems would feel a sense of ownership over this community-owned institution.
This early in, we still need the community to rally around the co-op and support it monetarily. I mean, you could sugarcoat it, but us being profitable is what's going to keep the co-op alive and a part of that community, a focal point of that community. And I believe that's what the intention was when Baba created what it turned out to be with the commercial kitchens and the ability for people in the community to come in there and utilize our spaces as entrepreneurs in a cyclical manner so they can, create their product upstairs in the kitchen and then sell it in the co-op. But we need people to support it. We need people to come in mass and not just, for the first month or two. Our sales are steady, but we need to have them grow, So We got the initial push when we opened, and then we just, kind of taper down to what our projections are. But we need to beat what our projections are. So we need that constant influx of money into the co-op. There's definitely some member outreach that needs to be done to make them feel like actual owners of the co-op. I think right now there's like a space where the member ownership doesn't understand their piece necessarily, and we have to do a better job of getting them together and understanding how important it is that they support and be a part of the outreach by recruiting new members.
Just piggybacking on what he said about community support, also grace from the community and understanding that it is still a business, and so people being a little bit more graceful and understanding that we can't offer certain discounts just yet. And that goes for the co-op in addition to the kitchen and the hall. They are businesses and they have to be profitable so that we can self-sustain before we're able to actually give back. So just a little bit of grace from the community as well. Compared to other grocery stores, our price point comes in at very fair, I would say. I would say it's probably halfway in between like a Whole Foods and a Trader Joe's, but there is still like conventional products in the store that are very affordable, and there are always sales going on in the store too.
Local farms that we work with outside of D-Town Farms is Nurturing Our Seeds, Green Boots, and Oakland
Avenue.
Yep.
Generally speaking, and this is I think every co-op, black-led and not, but specifically black-led co-ops are in need of like political education resources around what is a co-op, why is it important, how is it anti-capitalist or not, right? Like building the consciousness of the community around why we even exist and why it's important, as Akil said, to become a member and to go full throttle into the institution, shop here, join a committee maybe, and really love up with your head, heart, and hands in all the ways so that we can ensure that we're here 5 years from now, right? So just mobilizing and organizing our community and building our consciousness around what we're doing, why we're doing it, how we're doing it is really important. And again, there's like no ready-to-go blueprint, and so we're just literally experimenting, trying things on, and seeing what works. Because our folks are like deeply entrenched in the capitalist food system that has swallowed us all up. And so when they come into the store, they expect discounts. They're like, what separates me as a non-member owner, or what separates me from a person who's not a member owner if I'm a member owner, right? Like, what's the benefit? What am I getting out of it? And sometimes it's hard to communicate that in really direct terms in ways that makes it like enticing for people to join, right? And so we have to come up with this creative messaging. We have to come up with like this really like intricate diagram of like systems of capitalism and white supremacy, and you know what I mean. And so it's a thing. It's a heavy lift, you know what I mean, around like education and outreach and marketing, so that we're not ostracizing the very people that we say we want to impact and we want to feel a sense of belonging, in the institution.
So there are incentives, there are discount plans that we're working towards to be able to meet the member owners, halfway, so that they don't feel like, because what I get on a regular basis is people come in and say, what is my $200, like Mama Shakira said, what does my $200 afford me here? And, you can't give them an answer that is going to satiate their feelings that they're just giving $200 and it's a ripoff. So we definitely have discount plans on specific items, specific weeks. When we become profitable as a member owner, you decide where those profits go. So if you wanted to, those almost 4,000 people, if they decided we want that to go back to our pockets, that's their choice. If they decide we want to look forward to building a co-op on the other side of the city, that's their choice. But that's part of what the member ownership piece affords people within the community.
Which is really important.
It is.
Because when you become a member of Sam's Club or Costco, you become a member, but you're not an owner. You have no power in how the store operates, what it sells, what it stocks the shelves with. You know what I mean? And so just conceptualizing what power means as a member owner is like an egg that we're cracking in various ways.
We need operational funding. We work very hard. And so as a staff, we deserve to be compensated for our hard work. Funders often, for whatever reason, have hang-ups about paying nonprofit staff at market rate. So that's what we need. We need operational funding, we need admin funding, we need funding for personnel. We also want to start to expand what using the kitchen looks like. So we'd like to offer scholarships. We want to work with more youth groups, but we need to be able to offer scholarships to youth so that they are able to utilize the kitchen, so that they are able to start their, food entrepreneurial dreams and maybe create a pipeline from the kitchen down into, the co-op, so that they're, putting their communities on their back and lifting them up. Those are the couple things that I can think of off the top of my head. So for equipment, I would say anywhere from like $300 to $500K. We want to get some external refrigeration units so that we're able to offer even more services and more clients into the kitchen. We want to be able to have people that are making, frozen goods or something like that in the kitchen and still have the ability to store those retail ready goods. Right now we have refrigeration units in each of our 4 kitchens, but those are for temporary storage, and we like refrigeration units, external refrigeration units, and there are some other kitchen equipments that we're looking for. And so probably $300 to $500K is what I would say for immediate equipment needs. And then there's some other upgrades we want to do to the banquet hall. We'd like to be able to partition it. Right now it's huge, it seats 250 people, but some small community organizations may want to be able to take advantage of renting half the hall, at a cost savings to them, and we'd like to be able to partition that as well. So those are our additional needs. But as far as salary in a fiscal year, I would say our salary operating budget, I'm gonna just round it out at $1 million.
I know for the co-op model, being able to teach financial acumen to not only the incoming general manager early on in the process, but also the staff, and then being able to have those type of informational meetings with the member owners so they kind of understand. Because a lot of, myself included, a lot of us came into these positions kind of blind to how important being fiscally responsible is for the health of the co-op. So you go into it, and just throw out a ballpark number, we opened with $700,000 in the bank. But operations month to month will eat that up fast, especially early. So one month we lost 120K. So that 700 grand will be gone very fast if you're not giving the people who are in charge of maintaining the finances within the co-op that type of knowledge, So definitely in that setting, for me, what I've experienced, that financial training piece should be like at the forefront, as opposed to once it's open and then you're trying to catch up on learning all these different tricks and, reaching out to different organizations for funding, or because that's an ongoing thing in co-ops.
Mm-hmm. So Bob Malik often says that, the food co-ops, first of all, you can't give a community a food co-op. You have to build it with the community, right? And once the food co-op is built, it's not like the end of the show, right? Like it's food sovereignty food sovereignty, as he says, is like, or let me rewind. Growing food, as he says, is like the cover story to like building Black liberation. The real agenda is Black liberation, and food, whether it's like the urban ag or some other means, food like cooperative development is a strategy or a tool in building towards Black liberation. And so we just can't stop at building a food co-op, right? Like liberation, as we say, isn't a destination, it's a journey. And so I just want to remind everyone that it's this ongoing process of fixing things. So when it's built, like Akil was saying, you gotta continue to strategize how to remain financially afloat, right? Because we've seen how many co-ops go under within the first 3 to 5 to 10 years because of many, many things, but one of them, like lack of community engagement and like lack of financial acumen, right? Like all these reasons that are weaponized against us by the system. And so we have to consistently like study up, train up, and skill up in all the ways so that we can continue to pivot, very sharply by the crises that arise, so that we can ensure that we remain sustainable, not just in the financial sense, but like politically, socially, emotionally, spiritually, so just understanding that this is a marathon and not a sprint. And there's always going to be more things to address as an institution that's building towards Black liberation as like the sole agenda.
What I would say is that you have to remain fluid throughout this journey, but you're also going to have to balance it with being firm. So you're going to have to learn how to pivot, because with a brand new build, and this could be from the building or just even, any membership issues or anything, you're going to have to know how to pivot and be able to pivot and shift. There's going to be a lot of things that are thrown at you. And so in a lot of those situations, you're going to have to be fluid, but in some situations, you're going to have to be very firm and stand on the principles that you built the co-op on. So for example, our building, had a condensation issue. And so the issue persisted and persisted and persisted. And, I was reaching out to our builders often, hey, this is an issue. And I was kind of getting brushed off. And, you can imagine this is like 8 or 9 white men. And so I had to be very, very firm and put deadlines on them for getting this issue fixed, and then also letting them know that if there are any damages, the financial repercussions will be yours and not ours. So that's what I mean by sometimes you're going to have to really stand firm in protecting and stewarding what you built, and then other times you're going to have to really be fluid and just kind of go with the flow and pivot as the changes come.
You need focused, intentional community buy-in. Like, you need people, like I said, the member owners have to take ownership of the co-op and not have that burst or surge of pride within the co-op only during the quarterly meetings. Like, we get a ton of people who come to our quarterly meetings, which is typically held upstairs. And once they're done, they come downstairs to the co-op and they shop. And we see a boost in our sales, and then we may not see these people again for another 3 months. So it needs to be wholly community-oriented with like strong intentions behind wanting to see the co-op succeed, because it will not succeed just by us having groceries in there and saying that we're Black-led and having murals of some of our distinguished Black leaders. So the community, really specifically for the co-op, it has to be driven by the community. There's no other way we'll be successful.
I would say the same thing for DBCFSN, the community buy-in, and understanding that we have this space, but in order to keep this space, we need the community to buy in, not just ideologically, but financially. So if you want to use the space, understanding that there's a cost associated with the space and shifting that mindset from, well, y'all got it, so can I just use the space? Nobody's in there right now. And shifting that mindset to, well, this is my community space. And so in order for it to succeed, I have to have skin in the game. And skin in the game is me paying for the facility when I need to use it. We want to become self-sustainable. And in order for us to become self-sustainable, we have to sustain it ourselves. And I think that's what we would need in order to be fiscally successful as DBCFSN.
I mean, I'm a good gushy. We need love. We need, like, for real, we need love, we need trust. Adrienne Marie Brown talks about building revolution by moving at the speed of trust, right? And I'm paraphrasing, but I mean, but trust is really, really big in our work, right? A love ethic is really, really big in our work. And also just like learning to work through our differences, because some of the biggest challenges that we have in the movement are like the interpersonal like relationship building. And so because we've all been deeply traumatized by living in this like white supremacist, heteropatriarchal capitalist system that doesn't work for anyone. And so we bring those traumas to the movement, and we bring those traumas to the work that we do. And there's not enough attention on how those traumas are often like divisive tools or just like inhibiting getting the work done. And so I would really love for us to, as was mentioned in the morning session, for us to practice what it means to be in healthier relationships, to be in right relationships or better alignment with one another. Just by how we relate to one another is really important. So yeah, like skilling up, it could be like community meditations. It could be like, but seriously, like ways that we could build that intimacy and like heal together from the various traumas that we all have. Like that's a really forgotten and somewhat ignored part of the work. And my dream is for the Detroit People's Food Co-op to be like a core cooperative institution in a large ecosystem of various Black-led co-ops in the city of Detroit. Childcare, housing, transportation, because all of these are basic necessities that many of our people are struggling with, right? And so it's not just about food. I mean, food is a really like core part of our being, so that's why food cooperatives are often the beginning or the start of building towards Black liberation, but we can't stop there, as was already mentioned. And so I would love to see a larger ecosystem that that is like a web or it's like a spider web of cooperative institutions that work in solidarity with one another, right? Because we don't have a choice. It's like either build this beautiful ecosystem of co-ops that meets various basic needs that we as human beings have on this planet, or we're going to continue to struggle to survive. That's just what it is. So.